has been a long 4 months. The NBA season is back, guys. The NBA season resumes today, and I am stoked.
Yo, what is up, guys? My name is Zach. Hope you're all having a fantastic day, and welcome to the day 170, the final day of the regular season recap of the 2016-2017 NBA season. You know, a very important part about life is confidence. You gotta be confident in your abilities and what you are capable of doing. And that's something that I guess co-owner of the Boston Celtics, Wyc Grousbeck, doesn't have much of when it comes to the team's chances of beating the Cavaliers if the two teams should meet in the playoffs this year. As he went on the radio yesterday to say this: I don't think we're as good as Cleveland. If we got a chance to play them in the postseason, I'd love to see it, but I'm not sure how it would turn out. Now, the Celtics did finish the year with the best record in the East, though the argument could be made that LeBron James and the Cavaliers didn't care about having the #1 seed since they rested their best players in the final games of the season. But still, the Celtics have managed to get a win over the Cavs in the regular season. But that being said, we all know that a regular season victory means little to nothing against a LeBron James led team. I mean, just ask my Pistons, as they beat the Cavs 3 out of the 4 times they played them a couple of years ago in the regular season before getting swept in the playoffs. But what do you guys think though? How much of a chance do the Celtics have against the Cavs? As a Pistons fan, I'm going to try extremely hard to just deliver this news without letting my feelings toward Reggie Jackson show. But as we all know, Reggie Jackson hasn't had the best year at all for the Pistons, which has caused him to take a majority of the blame when it comes to the disappointing season the Pistons have had as a whole. But with all that being said, and despite the numerous rumors that Jackson was widely available during the trade deadline, according to Stan Van Gundy, Jackson will be back wearing a Pistons jersey next year, and he will be better than ever. There's guys that you look at and say he had a really rough year. Reggie Jackson had a really difficult year, and it really affected our team. I think Reggie will come back and be as good as or better than he was 2 years ago. I honestly do. There were a lot of things that were physically and mentally very difficult for him to handle. He's committed to getting those things changed. He's a talented guy, and he will be really good next year. I have confidence in him. That's of course what Stan Van Gundy had to say on Reggie Jackson. Now, I wouldn't disagree with SVG when he says that Jackson had a tough year and that it affected the team, since the team is built around the Jackson-Drummond pick and roll, and that pick and roll doesn't work with Jackson playing like he was playing. And I do hope that if Detroit is forced to keep Reggie, that he will be back better next year. I really hope so. Like, God, I hope so. Carmelo Anthony very well could have played his last game as a New York Knick yesterday, and even he acknowledges that. Anthony was a little more realistic than ever about the idea of being traded yesterday, as when he was asked about the possibility of being traded, he responded by simply saying, they might. You know, they might trade me. He knows that it's a strong possibility. Then he reflected on the trade deadline, saying, there was a point in time where I didn't think I would be back here. So of course he was still surprised to be in New York after the trade deadline. I mean, I think a bunch of us were surprised that he was still in New York after the trade deadline. Now, of course, Carmelo still has his no trade clause, but it's beginning to seem like that if the Knicks come to a trade agreement with Carmelo Anthony with another team, and they approach Carmelo with this trade, that he might be willing to waive that no trade clause no matter what the team is that's going to be trading for him. Which leads us to the question of the day: will Carmelo Anthony be traded? And if so, to where? To be honest, the only team I can see trading for Carmelo Anthony would be the Clippers, and that's only if Chris Paul decides to stick to his word and resigns with the team during the offseason. Other than that, I'm not too sure. Let me know what you guys think about this down in the comment section below, but now let's check out what some of you said from yesterday's video. Yesterday, after a report that Joakim Noah would have to have surgery on his torn rotator cuff, I asked you guys if him and his 4-year, $72 million contract was the worst contract in NBA history, to which you guys responded by saying, Joakim Noah is the worst, but one of the most underrated contracts is Steven Adams. OKC fans triggered, but he got a $100 million contract. He barely has any offense and is not the best rebounder for his position. Noah is easily one of the top 10 worst contracts in all of sports history, not just the NBA. What was Phil Jackson thinking of giving that kind of money to a man with one working leg and who literally cannot shoot? I mean, seriously, what is up with his shooting form? The Knicks are going to be hurting from this for the next 3 years. Noah is pretty bad, but Parsons is worse. He's making over $94 million over the next 4 years on a team who's having salary cap problems already. So basically, it's so bad that he is part of the reason why the Grizzlies are pretty screwed. Say that Noah is one of the top 10 worst contracts in all of sports history. I'm not sure about that because the only sport I really follow is the NBA, but I can't imagine that being too hard to believe considering how bad this contract is. And when it comes to who is worse, Chandler Parsons or Joakim Noah, I might have to lean towards Parsons just because his contract is longer and it's more money. And like you said, the Grizzlies are really screwed considering how much they overpaid to keep Mike Conley, and then they went out and dished the max contract to Chandler Parsons too. Yeah, they're pretty screwed for the future when it comes to trying to, re-sign or get other players. That about wraps up this portion of the video. Now let's hop into the games from last night, and we do have a lot of them. I just want to say, good job, Miami. I know it can't be easy to have come so far. I mean, starting off the season 11-30, looking destined to get a top 5 pick in the lottery, to all of a sudden playing like one of the best teams in the league in the second half of the season, only to miss out in the playoffs due to tiebreakers. They got the 110-102 win that they needed last night, but the Bulls got to play the Nets, and of course they won, meaning that both teams finished the year with a 41-40 record. That's crazy though. They went 30-11 over the second half of the season. If they played at that pace for a full season, they would have ended up with the best record in the East and the 3rd best record in the NBA. Dragic ended a tremendous season with another great game with 28 points, as did Whiteside, as he had 24 points and 18 rebounds. Well done, Heat. Can't wait to see what you guys do next year. I already told you guys who won this one. The Bulls won, and extremely easily too. 112-73 was the final score, and with the way Jimmy Butler was playing last night, you could tell that there was no way that he was going to let their season end. I mean, he had dragged this Bulls team this far basically by himself. Now all he had to do was get them a win over the worst team in the NBA. Butler had 25 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, and 4 steals, and rookie Paul Zisper had 21 off the bench. Archie Goodwin scored 20 for the Nets. The Celtics are now officially the #1 seed in the Eastern Conference, and they will have home court advantage in the Eastern Conference playoffs no matter who their opponent is. They got the 112-94 win over Milwaukee when the Celtics reserves were able to pull away with the game in the 4th quarter. Jalen Green was a main reason for that, scoring 18 off the bench, while Isaiah Thomas had 13 points and 8 assists in his 23 minutes. Giannis set this one out for the Bucks, but Michael Beasley filled in with 15. The Rockets got their 55th win of the season last night against the Wolves with the 123-118 win. This ties the 4th best regular season win total in Rockets history. James Harden went out with a bang last night, racking up his 22nd triple-double of the year. 27 points, 12 assists, 10 rebounds, as well as 4 steals, and the Rockets hit 19 threes on the night. Brian Anderson was responsible for 6 of those 3-point attempts as he finishes with 20 points, while Capella also had 22 points and 10 rebounds. Meanwhile, Karl Anthony Towns finished the 2nd year of his career with 28 points and 21 rebounds. What a statement to make in the last game of the season. The Lance effect continues. The Pacers have been playing much better basketball since reacquiring Stevenson, and last night was no exception as they win once again, 104-86 over the Hawks. Paul George seems like he's getting better and better every single game. Last night, he had 33 points and 11 rebounds, while Lance did a little bit of everything off the bench with 4 points, 6 assists, and 10 rebounds. Ilyasova had 15 for Atlanta as they once again rest a majority of their starters. I'm sure the Nuggets went into this one with some kind of personal vendetta against Westbrook and the Thunder, since it was Westbrook who took away their playoff hopes with his 40-foot buzzer beater a few nights ago. And they did get their revenge last night with the 111-105 win. Like Towns, Jokic also used this game to make a statement, as he showcased what we can expect to see a lot more from him next season. Jokic finished the game with 29 points, 16 rebounds, 8 assists, and 5 blocks. Wow. Just wow. Jamal Murray also played really well in the final game of his rookie season as he dropped 27. Russell Westbrook and the rest of the key players didn't play much for OKC. Westbrook had 5 points, 8 assists, and 5 rebounds in his 18 minutes. Honestly, the Cavs must not really have cared about getting the #1 seed considering they rested LeBron James for the final 2 games of the season. I guess having a refreshed LeBron James could be better than having 1 extra game at home. But still, they lost again last night 98-83 to Toronto, even though DeRozan also set this one out and Kyle Lowry only played 17 minutes. Norman Powell scored 25 for Toronto while Edie Tavares, okay, I see you, Edie. He had 6 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 blocks in his first game as a Cavalier. Easily the best game of his career, by far. The Lakers desperately need to lose this one if they want to be able to keep their pick in this year's draft. But at the same time, I'm sure it would have been kind of nice to see them go on a 6-game winning streak to close out the season. But their opponents would be the Golden State Warriors, who despite the fact that they decided to rest Draymond Green, were still able to get the pretty easy 109-94 win, behind Kevin Durant and his 29 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists, while Stephen Curry added 20 points and 8 assists, as they finished the year with a 67-15 record. Jordan Clarkson scored 17 for the Lakers. The Jazz had their starting lineup in the game in an attempt to get the #4 seed in the West, whereas the Spurs, I guess the starters just hadn't been playing up to Popovich's standards as of late, so he didn't want to give them a rest. And it was the Jazz who prevailed in this one with the 101-97 win over San Antonio, with the reserves closing out the game for both teams. Gordon Hayward led all scorers for Utah, while Aldridge had 18 for San Antonio. Despite winning, in order for the Jazz to end up with the #4 seed, they would need the Clippers to lose. And that just wasn't happening, as the Clippers easily dismantled the Kings last night 115-95 to get their 7th straight win. They've been playing their best basketball of the season down the stretch. All 5 stars for LA scored in double digits, led by DeAndre Jordan and his 18 points, 17 rebounds, and 4 blocks, while CP3 had 17 points and 9 assists. For the Kings though, this season has been an interesting one. Buddy Hield closed out his rookie season on a solid note, scoring 16 points to go along with 6 rebounds and 4 assists, while Willie Cauley-Stein shows his capabilities as a starting center in the league with 19 points, 14 rebounds, and 6 assists. Not much to say about this one. Without Davis and Cousins for the Pelicans, and without all of the most significant players for the Blazers, it wasn't the most exciting game, and the Pelicans reserves got the 103-100 win over the Blazers reserves. Chick Diallo, who hasn't gotten much burn in his rookie season, had the best game of his career for the Pelicans with 12 points and 16 rebounds, while Shabazz Napier had his 2nd impressive game in a row for the Blazers with 25. The Pistons finishing out probably one of the most disappointing seasons the organization has ever seen, and they finished with another loss, 113-109 to the Orlando Magic, as both teams prepare for the draft lottery come June. Aaron Gordon made yet another case as to why Orlando will be beyond stupid to trade him, as he scored 32 points to go along with 12 rebounds in the final game of the year, and the same could be said for Elfrid Payton, as he had another good game of 21 points and 13 assists, while KCP on the other hand for the Pistons made his final case to get a max contract this offseason with 20, while Ish Smith had 20 points and 10 assists. The Grizzlies have been reeling a bit down the final stretch of the season, having lost 7 of their last 10 games, and that losing continues against the Dallas Mavericks. 100-93 was the final score, despite Dallas not even playing their best players. Nicholas Brussino and Devin Harris each scored 15 for the Mavs, while Mike Conley had 15 for Memphis. This could potentially be one of the last times in a long time that the Sixers could be a legit bad, just flat out bad team, as if they get some help on the wings this offseason along with the return of Simmons and Embiid, they could be a solid team as soon as next year. But for now, they're still losing, and some would argue that it's intentional, as they let this one slip away in the 4th to the Knicks. 114-113 was the final score, and what could have very well been Carmelo's final game as a Knick. Fans knew that as well last night, and chants of "We Want Melo" reigned throughout Madison Square Garden in the 4th, but it didn't happen though, as he never saw the court again. Melo finished with 17, and Justin Holiday had 20 off the bench. Justin Anderson led all scorers in this one with 26 for the Phillies. And that about wraps up all the action for the day 170 recap of the 2016-2017 NBA season, and now it's time to get into the player of the day. Yesterday, you guys selected Ron Artest and his 18 points and 4 steals as your player of the day, and here are today's nominees. You have Jimmy Butler and his 25 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 steals. Nikola Jokic and his 29 points, 16 rebounds, 8 assists, and 5 blocks. James Harden and his 27 points, 12 assists, 10 rebounds, and 4 steals. DeAndre Jordan and his 18 points, 17 rebounds, and 4 blocks. Kevin Durant and his 29 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists. Hassan Whiteside and his 24 points and 18 rebounds. Aaron Gordon and his 32 points and 12 rebounds. Or Paul George and his 32 points and 11 rebounds. As always, you guys can go vote for the player of the day by following the straw poll link down in the description box below. But other than that, thank you once again for watching the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. But now we're going to do something a bit different since it was the final day of the season. So let's take a look at the playoff standings. So here are the matchups for the first round of the 2017 NBA playoffs. In the Eastern Conference, you have the Boston Celtics versus Chicago Bulls, the Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Indiana Pacers, the Toronto Raptors versus the Milwaukee Bucks, and the Washington Wizards versus the Atlanta Hawks. And in the Western Conference, you have the Golden State Warriors versus the Portland Trail Blazers, the San Antonio Spurs versus the Memphis Grizzlies, the Houston Rockets versus the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the Los Angeles Clippers versus the Utah Jazz. The playoffs start this Saturday. Let me know who you guys have winning down in the comment section below. Other than that, thank you once again for everything you guys have done for me this season. I think I started out the season, the first day of the season, with around like 2,000 to 3,000 subscribers, and now we're almost at 60K to end the season. That is insane. So thank you guys for all the support you guys shown me throughout the season. Of course, I will be doing the same thing in the playoffs as well as next season, and hopefully the season after that, and the season after that, and the season after that. You guys see the picture. But until then, keep getting the buckets, Team SDC, and I'm out of here.